Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge and welcome to another recommendation video. Today is another kind of taboo / dark topic and it's going to be stalkers. I have made one other stalker recommendation video and it's been a while though. It's been over a year since I've done one, and since we have the romance takeover readathon coming up soon and stalkers are one of the dark prompts, I thought it would be a fun time to go over some of these again. Some of them, the stalking is a smaller part than others, and I'll kind of tell you that as we go through them, but let's go ahead and dive in. Before I do that though, I want to say a huge thank you to my channel members and patrons who make it possible for me to do this full time. It's been an amazing few months being able to wake up every day and focus completely on books and making content for y'all. So if you're interested in supporting that and keeping me going, you can check out the links in the description for how you could donate to the cause. But let's go ahead and dive in. I think I have 8 recommendations for this. These are a little harder to come across because usually stalking isn't happening as much. I'm also going to try to keep this video shorter than I usually do because sometimes YouTube rewards me for putting out videos that aren't almost an hour long. And also some of these books I don't want to share too much about them. But I will say right off the bat that every one of these books has many triggers with there being stalking. The main ones that could cause issues are going to be, there is some non-consensual acts that happen, some dubious consent. So just know that, because I probably won't remember for each book to give you that trigger. So just know this is a dark romance recommendation video. All of these are dark. So if you have triggers for those things, number 1, not sure why you clicked this video, but number 2, know that you'll want to look into the more specifics for those if you want. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and we're gonna start with my gal, my lady, my bestie, Sophie Lark here, with her Sinners and Saints duets, whatever this duet is called, I'm not sure. But this first one, There Are No Saints, is about a girl named Mara Eldritch, and she unfortunately becomes the obsession of not 1 but 2 serial killers. One serial killer gets his eye on her and decides to use her in this game of like cat and cat that he's playing with another serial killer. Both of these serial killers are also artists. Their names are Alistair Shaw and Cole Blackwell, and Cole is more of a sophisticated and elegant killer. He doesn't kill all the time, but Alistair really wants to kind of lure him in and prove that he is a more messy killer than he knows it. Anyway, so Mara ends up getting in the sights of this, and she ends up being taken by Alistair, being mistreated by him, and the crime is left to be like blamed on Cole. Well, luckily for Mara, she doesn't end up being killed by this. Nor does she fully know yet who it is who did this to her. And she lives and she's able to go back home. But now Cole becomes obsessed with her because he thinks she will have died from what's happened to her. And when he sees her out and about, still alive, he becomes obsessed with her and he starts stalking her and sneaking into her house and leaving little presents for her and just being creepy. So this book definitely, this duet goes in places I was not expecting, but Sophie is such a talented writer and the way that she tells this story is spooky, okay, but also sexy, and there's some kinks you maybe didn't know you had, and it's amazing. So highly recommend this duet. Then we have one that it's been a long time since I've read this, but when I was looking up stalker romances, this one popped up and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. So this is the Maddest Obsession, and this is book 2 in the Maid series by Daniel Laurie, and this one is about Gianna, and she has had a pretty tough life, and she's become the obsession of this man named Christian, and he seems like he is the utmost of morality, that he's a special agent upholding the law, but he definitely has his hands in a lot of things. And on one night when when their lives become intertwined, Gianna and Christian, she hates him right away, but he starts watching her and he keeps an eye on her for the next few years. And though at different points she is connected with other people, and this is a mafia romance, so she is connected with some people in the mafia, he keeps his eye on her and he's biding his time for his chance to have her. So this is one I definitely want to reread. I've reread the third book in this series a few times, but this is one I would definitely like to take a gander to again. Then we have a couple books from Sam Mariano, and by the way, in my previous video I mentioned Sam Mariano in that one as well, and pretty much like all of her books have some form of stalking or creeping or something like that going on, but I'm actually going to recommend two to you from Sam Mariano, and they're both well, the second one's not a standalone, but currently it's the only book out, and it is like a complete story, so I guess you could call it a standalone. But we have Descent. This one comes up almost every time I do a taboo or dark recommendation video. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. This one will, like, man, you are going to be made very uncomfortable by this story. I am not going to tell you any different. Sam Mariano does not play it safe. She does not do what's comfortable in her stories, and we're just along for the ride. And this one is about I always forget. I think it's Haley or Hallie. And she, unbeknownst to her, of course, has been watched by her ex-boyfriend. Well, first it was her boyfriend's boss. Like, she meets him at a work, like, Christmas party, and he has kept his eye on her ever since. And when she breaks up with her boyfriend, the boss, Calvin, uses this ex to get Hallie into his clutches, specifically into his clutches in the basement of this sex club that is known for, like, consensual non-consent. And so nobody there will know that she's not willingly participating in the sexual scenario that he has set up for her. So he rapes her in this basement, and he tells her that, well, not just his basement. Sorry, I've made it creepier with the basement, but, like, in this club. And then he says, you can go back to your life, because no one's going to believe you that I did anything. I'm one of the wealthiest men in the world. But though he promised to leave her be after he got what he wanted, he now has changed his mind, and he's going to come after her and take over her life. So be prepared. The other one from her I want to recommend is, I got to read it when it was a part of an anthology, but it is actually getting released in just a couple days, / it might already be out from the time that I release this. And it's called Even If It Hurts, and this one is a kind of sort of high school bully romance, but not in the way that, like, Untouchable was. So just know that. This one, you definitely want to look up the triggers for this one, because this one has some that you won't be expecting. But this guy, man, this book is so messed up. But basically, the girlfriend that this guy has is not our heroine, but she gets pissed off by the heroine. And I'm saying heroine because I'm sorry, I forgot her name. And so she dares her boyfriend to make this girl's life miserable, and to do that by making her fall in love and then breaking up with her. So that sounds like a twisted scenario, and it definitely is. But what's interesting is that both Dare and his girlfriend are kind of psychopaths, and Dare ends up slowly gaining feelings for this girl that he's supposed to be tormenting. And though his girlfriend thinks she has everything under control and that he's doing only what she wants him to do, that's not the plan that Dare has. But either way, whatever the plan is, he definitely is stalking and sneaking into her room at night and finding out everything about her that he can. And he's going to take control of her life. And in the way that Sam Mariano does, where these are literally like high schoolers and you can take that for what you will, I know a lot of people get their thrills out of Sam Mariano, and I definitely do as well. So this will be available for standalone, like I said, very shortly here. Then we have Notice by Kay Webster. This is one that I recently read that was recommended by some fans, and this one is Kay Webster bonkerness, okay? It absolutely is. This woman, she has been the secretary / assistant for this guy for a few years, and when she finally quits because she feels undervalued and she doesn't want to work for him, he suddenly notices her for the first time when she like stands up for herself and is like, fuck off, I'm quitting. And he decides that he's going to do whatever he has to make her stay. And he begins by stalking her and finding out everything about her that he can, sneaking into her apartment, masturbating over the top of her while she is sleeping. And he may or may not give a fuck if she figures it out or not. So we'll say that. Kay Webster, she will push you to uncomfortable places. We'll say that. Next, we have Mercy by Deborah Anastasia. This is one I think I just read this last month, and I listened to the audio. This was recommended to me by Bree from Love and Words, and this has a very sweet stalker, even though this book is still pretty dark. Our hero actually meets the heroine. He goes by the code name Mercy, but I think his name is Phoenix, and the hero's father has just killed his mother and is going to kill his son as well. And this little girl is with her, I think she's with her mom or something, and she sees this dad abusing the little boy. And even though she's a little girl as well, she gets in the dad's face and tries to like pull the little boy away. Anyway, this big like dramatic scene from these children, and her courage to stand up to his dad kind of shakes Phoenix out of what's happening. And so it gives him the strength to escape his father. And so he does. And then I think it's 15 or 20 years later, he's now this like hacking genius. He's also an assassin. He does jobs taking out really bad people. He'll take work to do that. But he's been keeping an eye on this girl who's now a woman for all this time, to the point where he's created a app that is a game that he's created just for her to play so that he can interact with her and watch her through this app. And he will like watch her through her devices and keep an eye on her. Now, that's still gross, creepy, no matter what. But he very much is doing it to protect her. And he does have a few women that he protects. Mostly, like, one of them is a family member that he watches out for. One of them is a little girl that he'd helped rescue during one of his jobs that he did. And then this woman that he's been watching for all these years. And there finally is an opportunity for him to make himself known to her in person. And so he finds an opportunity to do that. But, you know, when you get close to the object of your desire and you've been stalking her all this time, you may be putting yourself in a risky situation of being, you know, discovered what you've been doing. So then I want to mention another book that is just about to release. This one comes out on the 29th, and it is the first book in the Dreams of the Vengeful Duet. I'm not sure what it's called. I can't remember. Or Massacre Dreams. But this book is called Dreams of the Deadly by Adelaide Forrest. And Adelaide Forrest writes a very dark mafia romance. Now, this one is kind of interesting because, I mean, I would call it stalking based on what the definition of stalking is. But it's also, this one is fully for like protection reasons as well. This hero and heroine, they're actually engaged to be married when they are kids. When she's like 6 and he's 13, there's an agreement time between their parents. And when they're still kids, he makes it his mission to be like looking out for her. So he brings her flowers and he brings her candy, and he wants to make sure she has a comfortable childhood because she's very mistreated by her father, and he wants it in their marriage contract that, you know, this girl isn't beaten anymore and that she's treated well. This girl, she is also colorblind and left-handed, and her father thinks both of those are deformities, and so he's very cruel to her for her, like, I mean, they're not even disabilities, they're just differences, you know. And Calix, the hero, he wants to make sure that his future wife is treated well, you know, which is pretty upstanding for like a 13-year-old kid, right? Well, in the prologue of this book too, which was previously like a like the prologue was previously a standalone, but it's going to be in Dreams of the Deadly when it comes out. There is a big upset that happens, and Calix ends up getting banished, and his marriage contract with Thalia is severed, again, when they're still children. And Thalia is now right back where she started. She's still a little girl who's being mistreated by her father, and now a stepmother. And she's just trying to make it through her life day to day. And when she is a woman, when she, I think, is 21 now is what she is, she's now supposed to marry someone else who her father thinks will be a good ally for their family. And she's just going to be handed off and treated like cattle in this situation. However, Calix has been keeping an eye on her for many of the last years. He has cameras planted in her room. He watches her when she has alone time in her room. He even, I'll share this little tidbit, like she has a Kindle in this story, and he has one of her like bodyguards who's a plant like connect their two accounts, and so he knows which spicy book she's reading and which type of things get her very excited. So he's definitely a stalker. That's kind of a creepy thing, but he is doing it all because she's meant to be his queen, and he's not going to let her family get in the way of it. So, and then the last one I want to mention, this one's a bit of a turnaround. So this one, we actually have the woman who's the stalker, actually like a teenager kind of. So this one is definitely fucked up. This is a short one though. This one is called Break Me by Ivy Arnold, and there is this teacher who, one of his students, he is like going to I think it's like a neighborhood block party with his wife and kid, and he sees a student of his who he knows is a little bit troubled. He sees her just like wandering around, and so his wife is like, I mean, go ahead, go and see if she's okay. And so he does, and the woman is like, she's acting confused and upset, and he's like, let me drive you home. And so he drives her home, and he drops her off, and he's like, let me know if you need anything. And he makes the mistake of giving her his phone number. And what he doesn't know is that when he drops her off, she pretends to go into this trailer, but actually she leaves the other side and goes to meet up with her brother, because her and her brother are actually being paid to scam this guy. So we know that pretty early on. I won't say who's doing it or what's really going on, but she becomes kind of a stalker for him, and in fact finds ways to be around him more and more, and is trying to get him to lose control with her so that she has some leverage over him. But that does include sneaking into his house, drugging him, threatening exposure, and things like that. So this one's definitely taboo. This one's definitely naughty. This one has a crazy ending, but it's also very short, very quick. It goes by really fast. And I thought it would be cool to include a female stalker, because there aren't too many of those. So there you go. Those are some recommendations for stalkers. I hope you find some that will be titillating and exciting for you. But as I said, read at your own risk. None of these are safe for work content, that's for sure. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.